In the early 1990s, the Haryana police discovered two bodies at an isolated farmhouse near Sonipat. The victims were the wife of a prominent Delhi businessman and the property's caretaker of 10 years. The official police record closed the case as a crime of passion. The narrative alleged an illicit affair between the wife and the caretaker that ended in a murder-suicide. The forensic reality of the scene tells a different story. The deaths were the result of a meticulously timed assassination attempt that used a victim's own medical history as the weapon. To understand how the truth was buried, we have to look at the target of the plot, Raghav Malik. Raghav was the wealthy businessman whose one significant vulnerability was a fragile heart that had already survived one major failure. Raghav arrived at his isolated farmhouse in the evening, expecting a quiet retreat. Instead, he found the estate stripped of all light and communication. A scheduled power grid shutdown had plunged the property into total darkness from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. For those 6 hours, the farmhouse was effectively a physical and psychological vacuum. Raju, the caretaker, knew Raghav's condition. He spent the preceding days planting stories of a headless ghost on the grounds before retreating to the cattle shed to begin the assault. In the darkness, Raju executed a sequence of calculated triggers: rhythmic footsteps in empty corridors, the sound of breaking glass, and movement in the peripheral shadows. Each event was designed to steadily spike Raghav's heart rate. The climax occurred in the kitchen. A shadowy figure suddenly cornered Raghav, inducing a massive panic attack that left him unconscious on the floor. The plan relied on a perfect murder. Scaring a cardiac patient to death leaves no physical weapon and zero evidence for a medical examiner to find. At 2:50 a.m., 10 minutes before the power was scheduled to return, Raghav Malik regained consciousness. While lying on the kitchen floor, Raghav heard the ghost speaking. Raju was on a telephone, providing a progress report to a co-conspirator. The voice belonged to Raghav's wife, Mohini. She orchestrated the haunting to inherit the estate without a murder investigation. Raju's price for betraying a decade of service was a 5% equity stake in the farmhouse, a legal claim to a percentage of ownership. 10 years of perceived human loyalty had been reduced to a simple line item on a balance sheet. At 3 a.m., the lights returned. Raghav stood up and confronted his caretaker with a kitchen knife. Instead of calling the police, Raghav leveraged his superior capital. He offered the assassin a new contract. Raghav offered Raju a 10% stake in the property, doubling his wife's offer, on the condition that Raju kill Mohini as soon as she arrived to confirm the death. Raju accepted the new terms immediately, without hesitation. Mohini arrived at the estate shortly after dawn. Expecting to find a corpse, she was instead met at the door by Raju, who fatally stabbed her. As Mohini lay dying, Raghav informed his caretaker that the 10% equity offer was a mathematical impossibility. Raghav had finalized a legal deed to sell the entire farmhouse 1 week earlier. He had already moved the cash into private accounts and no longer held any ownership in the property he had just negotiated. Raju realized he had committed a murder for a percentage of an asset that Raghav did not own. By treating the assassination attempt as a business negotiation, Raghav eliminated his treacherous wife and effectively destroyed his attacker without ever making a threat. Raghav Malik simply got into his car and drove back to Delhi. He left the farmhouse behind, confident that the remaining players had no way to touch him. Facing a murder charge and possessing no proof of the original conspiracy, Raju took his own life. His death provided the police with the suicide they needed to close the crime of passion file. The official narrative remains on the books today. In the end, Raghav Malik didn't just survive the haunting, he used the perpetrator's own financial interests to let them erase themselves.